You're listening to Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. Our show provides listeners with an insider perspective of Texas A&M athletics and its greatest supporters. This podcast will bring you exclusive interviews with coaches, athletes, donors, and the dedicated staff of Aggie Athletics and the 12th Man Foundation. You ready? Let's dive into today's episode. Howdy, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. This is your host, Ivy Robinson, and sitting in studio with me right now is Texas A&M baseball pitcher Ryan Prager. Welcome to the show, Ryan, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Ryan, I have a fun question for you right off the bat. When thinking about the season last year and everyone's walk-up songs last year, if you could pick one walk-up song that's not yours, obviously, that's your favorite, what would it be and why?
Okay, I wouldn't choose it as mine, but I really liked Ali's. I didn't like it at the start of the year, but once we had like the fan interaction, the maracas, the people going up and down.
Inflatable maracas, yes.
It was like, this is insane. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, the energy with that walk-up song is really fun. Yeah, I have to agree. All right, so Ryan, there's lots of topics I want to cover with you today, but to begin, can you just tell our listeners, tell us where you're from and how about a unique fact about yourself?
Okay, so originally from Dallas, Texas, a bunch of family in that area, so I was very fortunate to grow up around a lot of family there, and I think that's what made A&M really special to me was it felt like a family, and it was very similar to what I grew up in. And relating to A&M, something unique about me is first-generation Aggie. So A&M was never really something that stood out to me growing up. It was never something that was on my mind, but since having baseball kind of introduced A&M to me, it was something that I'm forever grateful to be a part of, and my family is too.
Tell me more about your family, like your parents. How did you first start playing sports? Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, Dad is originally from the Dallas area, so actually grew up in the same neighborhood that my dad grew up in. So that was really cool. Grandparents lived just down the street in the house that my dad and his brothers both were born and raised in. So that was really cool and really special. Mom's originally from Florida. They actually met when my dad was playing baseball out in Florida. So he was playing with the Astros in their organization, and they met through some mutual friends out there. And eventually, when baseball was done, they decided to hunker down and start a family and move back to Texas, and it's been awesome. Me and my sister both went to one of the local high schools, actually the rival high school of my dad. So little family rivalry there, but it was great, and started playing sports because my dad played baseball. It was something I was always into, but I really started and found a love for it because my granddad, my dad's dad, ran our local little league that I played in. He ran our amateur league that all the college guys played in. So baseball was special to me because Dad played, but also because fun days in the summer consisted of going to the park with Granddad and working the concession stand, working the scoreboard, and just being around it.
You would say that's where your love and passion kind of started for the sport.
Yeah.
That's really neat. In addition to like your dad and granddad, who have been your biggest influences or role models in baseball?
I think a lot of coaches, like my dad coached me growing up, but getting into high school, my high school coach was a big influence. I think even some of the coaches I've had that didn't coach me on the baseball field, like in high school, we had some football coaches that I was just really close with that being an athlete, coaches feel like they're super impactful on you, and they feel like a second father at times. So just the lessons that they had taught me because you spend so much time around those people is really what I think sticks with you.
Mm-hmm. What are some of those lessons, do you think, that you still lean on or depend on today?
Yeah, I think number one is toughness, and that doesn't mean like just physical toughness. It means a lot of like mental toughness and being able to get through things when you don't really want to, being able to kind of persevere and get through the hard times when it seems like it's so easy to say no and just back off. And another one is just understanding that you can only control what you can control. There's a lot of things in sports and in life that are just out of your control that you have zero say on, and you can't harp on those because it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, you can only control what you can control. That's so applicable to sports, to life. a job. I love that. It's a good reminder. Going back to high school, did you play any other sports outside of baseball, or was that your focus?
That was my main focus. I played a little bit of golf here and there, but once I got to high school, it was strictly baseball.
Yeah. When did you start pitching?
Maybe 10,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And funny enough, I really didn't want to pitch when I
Really?
started pitching. I didn't want to because I wanted to hit when I was 10 years old, and I knew that pitchers didn't hit. And funny enough, my dad made me pitch because he knew that I could throw strikes and stuff like that. And then from there, it kind of just took off.
Mm-hmm. Was there a moment when the light bulb finally came on and you're like, okay, I'll give up the batter's dream?
Yeah, I'd say I fell in love with it kind of right away once I actually did it. And then once I got older and realized that, had a little self-realization that I was good at it and kind of ahead of the curve on it, I was like, okay, like, this is fun. This is something I want to do.
Ryan, what do you enjoy doing outside of baseball? Like, if you have free time, which I know is not a lot for a student athlete, what would you most likely be doing in your free time?
Golf's a big one. Me and some of my roommates spend a lot of time on the golf course in our free time. And then another one is just being around friends and family. So, like, being around my teammates is huge, whether that's just at the house or it's going to watch a movie or going to putt-putt here at Pop Stroke or just doing something, getting out and just being around people that you're close with and that you enjoy. I think it's a great way to, one, get your mind off of a lot of things, and it's just fun because when you're around people that you enjoy or people that are similar to you, it just makes it 10 times better.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Pop Stroke. I have not been to Pop Stroke yet, but it is like on my bucket list. Like, I want to go so bad. What was it like? Was it fun?
It was awesome. It was awesome. I think I've been twice now. I know some guys have been a few more, but it's cool because you can go and it's kind of play as much as you want, and we can go and it gets a little competitive by the end,
Oh,
but
I'm sure.
but it's all right.
Very fun. Okay, one more question for you related to high school. I read online that you were selected to the National Honor Society and you graduated as valedictorian at Hillcrest High School. That's an incredible accomplishment, and it goes great with the topic of academics that I want to kind of transition into next. But tell us about how you got to that point. As valedictorian, I'm sure you had to balance the demands of being both an athlete and a student.
I'd say, one, academics was always something that was important to me. I think at first it came somewhat natural, but as I got older, it was something that if I was doing it, I wanted to be good at it. And I think that took some of my competitiveness from sports, and it was in academics as well. So I was fortunate to have a good group of friends that I was actually teammates with in high school also, that we were all at the top of the class, and it was competitive for us, and we kind of pushed each other to be better. But at the end of that year, being number one, getting to walk the stage first, speaking at graduation was awesome. It was an honor. It was an accomplishment that I'm super proud of, and something that can't get taken away, something that'll be with me forever.
Mm-hmm. Staying on the topic of academics, what was the transition like coming from high school into Texas A&M as a freshman, adjusting to the student athlete schedule and life here at Texas A&M? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's different. It's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts going into it because there's so much that's demanded of you from an academic side and an athletic side, as well as being in the community and representing Texas A&M. But the people that we have around us make that transition so easy. And from an academic side, having awesome advisors, awesome mentors, and also having coaches that understand what it's like and what is demanded of you makes it super easy. So there's a ton of support. The support is what truly makes us and helps us be successful, because without that, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. We would probably be all over the place. People would have 3 different things scheduled at one time. But it's definitely something that takes some getting used to. But once you do, it feels like second nature.
So a lot of time management.
Yeah.
Right. And having that community, like you said, the resources and the staff here, I'm sure is just critical to success and being successful both in competition and in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back a little bit. You mentioned earlier that the game of baseball introduced you to Texas A&M. What influenced your decision to play baseball at Texas A&M, and was it a difficult decision deciding to come here? Were you considering other opportunities, other schools? What was that like?
I'd say the recruiting process is always a difficult one because you're getting a lot from the baseball side that you don't know what's true. You don't know what to believe. A lot of it goes off of a gut feeling. But Texas A&M, like I said earlier, wasn't something that was on my mind before baseball came about. And through the recruiting process, the coaches that were here at the time reached out, and kind of just diving into A&M at that point and listening to what they had to say, it was eye-opening. My sister went to Texas, so I grew up kind of rooting for the school in orange. But once I got to dive into A&M and understand what it's about, understand what this town is about, what the fans are like, it was something I couldn't turn away from. And understanding somebody that comes from a big family background, understanding that A&M is all about family, and that's one of the big things that I've kind of understood, and something I cherish and love about it is that it feels like you're one large family that you can never get away from. It made it a really easy decision, and one that I never want to leave, and I'm grateful to be a part of.
So you would say like the camaraderie and the spirit of the 12th man and just that feel, the overall feel of Texas A&M and the traditions and the values that this university has, like that's
Yep.
kind of what sold you.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. I know our listeners will want to hear about your perspective of head coach Michael Early. Can you describe the culture Early has established in the Aggie baseball program and any other positives you've seen him bring to the program?
Yeah. With Mike, it's always all about the players. And with the guys he brought in with JK, Caleb, and Will Fox, it's all about the players. There's no selfishness. There's no egos with anything. It's how can we make each player and in all the team as good as we can? And how can we get everybody to perform at their best? So it's been incredible. There was definitely a transition there at the beginning. I think Mike getting comfortable being a head coach and him relying on JK for some things, but it's awesome. We have JK who has been a head coach, and he can help Mike at times, and Mike can help JK, and Caleb can help them, and they just work so well together. It's not one guy that tries to take the reins on everything. It truly is a synergy that they have, and the players enjoy it. We're just super excited. We're kind of itching to get going, and it makes it really easy when you have a group of people that you trust and that you're comfortable being around. So when you go play, when something goes wrong, we're comfortable kind of adjusting.
That team dynamic, being comfortable with your teammates and knowing that you can rely on each other throughout the good and the bad, right? When things are going great and when things are not going so great. And that's great to hear that the culture is at that level. How would you describe the relationship between you and your teammates specifically?
Yeah.
Having from the historic, awesome season that y'all had in 2024 to now, how would you describe what it's like being a part of this team?
Yeah, it's special. There's a lot of guys that were here last year, and I mean, last year is what it is, but we're on to 2025. But the relationships that you have with those guys stay, and that's super exciting that we can build off those. And a lot of the new guys that came in, whether they're older transfers or young freshmen, they kind of molded in right away, and that's rare, which is really special. It's rare for you to have a core group that returns and new guys kind of fit in and mesh right away. So we're fortunate to have that, and I think that's something that we pride ourselves in is being a tight group, being a group that plays for each other and one that doesn't care about who gets the credit, and just hope that Texas A&M has a lot of wins in the win column at the end of the year. So like I said, we're excited, and I think that represents how close everybody is, that we don't just want to play, we're excited to go play with each other.
And that makes a difference, and you can see that on the field as well. I'm sure y'all are ready to run it back to Omaha. All right, Ryan, I want to switch gears a little bit and bring up the topic of name, image, and likeness. Can you share how the ability to profit from NIL has personally impacted your life?
Yeah. First off, it's allowed me to be at Texas A&M, and that's super special. I think it's incredible seeing that players can benefit off off of their names, but it's given me life-changing opportunities that have allowed me to be in a place that I want to be at, and that's Texas A&M. And seeing the support of everybody, not only people that contribute to name, image, and likeness, and companies around that are wanting to do it, but also from people that have no input that really just want to support you. And I think that's what's most incredible.
So back in August, you were a speaker for a Tolkman Foundation building celebration event for the Adam Season Academic and Wellness Center. And through that event, you had the opportunity to use your NIL to make that event appearance and speak and share gratitude for the new facility and what it means for Texas A&M student athletes to have access to that facility and all the resources that come with it. Tell us about that experience and what it was like getting to speak to Tolkman Foundation donors and share that gratitude.
Yeah, I was honored to be able to speak. I mean, we had one student athlete representative, and to be able to be that person was an absolute honor. And the amount of people that work so hard to have resources for us and have buildings like the Sin Center is incredible. And to be able to go back and say thank you, even if it's only a few minutes, means a ton. And you could see it on their face that day at the Sin Center, being able to talk to Adam and just express a short thank you and hope that he understands how grateful we are to have the resources because of what he was able to give. I think just seeing that kind of fills a spot in your heart.
Mm-hmm. This brings up a good point too, but Tolkman Foundation donor contributions, to the annual fund, they help support marketing opportunities for student athletes, such as even you being here today, coming on this podcast. And in this era of NIL, do you think it's opened any unexpected doors for you beyond financial gain?
Yeah, for sure. The people that I've met through it, I've met some people that will be able to impact my life at some point because I understand that there's a life after sports and after baseball. One of the special things about Texas A&M is the connections that you can make and the people that you can meet and how the Aggie network is truly a real thing. NIL has introduced me to those people that can help put you in a position to be successful when sports are over. And not that things are handed to you, but if you just need a helping hand, that's what Texas A&M is all about.
It's awesome. Can you tell us maybe about some of the brands, organizations, or companies that you've partnered with NIL? Have there been any opportunities that really stand out to you or have been really unique?
There's been a few. I mean, Turtle Box is a big one that did some stuff with the baseball team last year and has done a lot with A&M now. That's really cool because it's a Texas brand. Actually, a former Aggie baseball player works for them and does a lot. So it's cool to
I didn't know
to
that.
have their stuff.
That's really cool. Yeah.
John Doxakis, who used to pitch here, does some media stuff with them. So to be able to have their product around and a relationship with those guys is really incredible.
Awesome. Going back to academics, Ryan, tell us what your major is and why you chose that area of study.
Yeah, so my major's finance. It just interests me. I don't know why. I mean, I think the math side of it always kind of came fairly easy to me, and then understanding what finance is just kind of drew my attention. I like the problem solving piece of it, kind of understanding here's the issue, now go find the answer was something that really was exciting to me and something I really enjoyed being a part of.
I know you made the 2024 Spring SEC Academic Honor Roll. When evaluating like your classes, you said you really enjoy math. Have you taken any classes that you really enjoy or that you've excelled in?
I have. I mean, I took a real estate class this last semester that was very interesting, just understanding kind of the dynamics of that whole process. I took a private equity class that I don't know if that's what I would want to do, but what I was able to learn and kind of some of these terms that you hear thrown around in the news or something, like actually understanding what that is. And then there's a handful of others that I'm missing, but they definitely were interesting for me. If they weren't interesting, I probably would have had to get out of it and wouldn't be able to sit through a class talking about stocks or anything. But but I was fortunate to find an interest and truly enjoy what I was learning about.
What resources have you really utilized to help you get through classes and stay on track?
Yeah, I'd say The first resource I used was when I was a freshman and sophomore. We had an older guy who was in the finance program, Will Johnston, and I was able to use him to understand, okay, is this what I want to do? Like, what are the classes like? What should I take? What should I not take? What should I take in season? Things like that. But beyond him, being able to come to the Sin Center and be able to have a quiet space to do homework after dinner is incredible. I can come here and get things knocked out. So when I go home, I can just kind of get away from school and get away from baseball. So it helped me kind of separate my day and separate my life. But I had great professors in a lot of those classes and people that wanted to help and wanted to support. So just having a great support system, not only from mentors and tutors on the athletic side, but also on the academic side and people that really wanted to help.
Mm. How does it work? Like when you're talking to professors, with the upcoming baseball season, do y'all just work out a plan on how like you will submit assignments, or what standard are you held to on the academic side with professors, and are they helpful or like lenient because they know you're in season? Like how does that work?
Yeah, they're definitely helpful. I'd say the standard you're held to is still the same standard as every other student and every other person at Texas A&M, but they definitely want to help you and they want to work around things that they know that you don't really have control of and things that you have prior commitments to be at. But a lot of it is either, if it's an assignment, a lot of assignments now are turned in online anyway. And if it's exams, it's either come in before you leave town or we'll schedule something the week after. But we also have great support, like academic advisors, like for me, Mindy, with helping communicate those things. If my initial communication doesn't get across, she'll step in and just say, hey, they have a road trip this weekend. Can he come in before or after and make up this exam?
Very neat. I want to ask you about, so during your sophomore year, you spent the season recovering from an injury. For those who may not know, can you explain what that was and tell us about your recovery process and how you overcame that injury?
Yeah, so the injury was a torn UCL. So I had to undergo Tommy John surgery to repair that torn ligament. And yeah, it's definitely a process. It's an injury that takes about 14 months to recover from. And I think I was about 16 months from surgery date to playing in a game. So it's definitely an extensive rehab. And it's one that is exciting at times because you're progressing and doing new things, but it's also really boring at times because there's a stretch of 4 weeks in there where you do the same thing every day. But going through it, I was very fortunate with it. I had 0 setbacks. I progressed very well, and ultimately through the whole thing felt great. And I was thankful for the people we had on the PT department here and the athletic training side and all sports medicine, because they were able to put me in the right position to be successful, and they were looking after me, not letting me do too much, not letting me do too little. So that was great. That year was definitely hard because it was just sitting back, not playing. When we go through struggles as a team, there's nothing you can do. So it was tough, but it was also a great learning experience for me to be able to look at the game from a different angle.
Yeah, I mean, that brings up a good point, and it reminds me of something that I think Henry Coleman said it on his episode on this podcast. But when he experienced an injury, someone told him, Henry, you can either think about how you're not contributing on the court, or you can look for ways to contribute to the team dynamic off the court. And exactly what you said, it kind of opened his eyes and made him realize, like, there are ways I can still contribute to the success of this team, even if I'm on the bench or even if I'm not actually physically out there. And so tell us a little bit about that, like maybe what you realized and how you stayed mentally tough, reinforced yourself that you were going to get through it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, what I realized at that point was I can't impact the game on the field, but how can I try to have an impact? And for me, that began with I had played the year before. We had freshmen that came in that were similar to me that hadn't played yet. How can I talk them through maybe some struggles that I had gone through also, or just dive into our teammates and people that I had become super close with, even though not playing. I felt like I had a great relationship with a lot of these guys. How can I be their biggest supporter? How can I help them go through things when it seems like they're bad and help keep them going and things like that. And that was something that helped me because it helped me put other people before me and put their success before mine. And in doing so, I think it also helped me get through rehab.
So I've got to ask you about the historic 2024 baseball season again and the road to Omaha, the national championship game. If you could pick one word to describe that journey to that national championship game, what would it be and why?
Incredible. Looking back on it, it is incredible. I think in the moment, it felt just like business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
It was something looking back on that was truly special because when you look back and one of two teams left to play on the last day with 300 and something total Division I college baseball teams, that's something that takes a lot of work and it's very rare to do. But in the moment, I'd say something that was really cool was none of us had even thought about that. Like in the moment, it was like, okay, like, yeah, we're supposed to play today. Like, is everybody else not? So it just felt like normal. And I think that's what made that last game, it meant so much to everybody. And coming up just short, it sucked. It is what it is. But it's something that the next day we could look back on and the week after we could look back and be like, okay, that was an incredible season. Like, that was special. Like, no matter what happened, this is a great group of people.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that season taught you?
I think, one, it taught me about support because we had support from the fans from the get-go. The 12th man was fantastic. I think from opening day to the first Tuesday to conference play to Omaha, they were there all the time. Like, I actually went back and looked at some of the box scores with my roommates the other day because we were a little curious, and I don't think we had a game under like 4,000 people, which even on a Tuesday is awesome. So they were fantastic. And then also just supportive of a team in general. Like, what made us really special last year was the group didn't care who had success. And we had a lot of really talented players who now a lot of them are in professional baseball that nobody cared who got the glory or who got the ESPN interview, who got the fame. It was all about, can we win? And if somebody had a bad day but we won, everybody had a smile on their face.
And that's awesome to hear. That just incredible team culture. I also let's reflect on this really quick. So I want to take you back to what probably had to be one of the most important moments in your baseball career so far. So, get through the 2024 season. That passes, but now we come to draft day, and the Angels selected you in the third round, which is incredible, by the way. Congrats.
Thank you.
But you've got this massive decision in front of you, right? Do you go to the MLB or do you return? And when you made that decision to come back to Texas A&M, I know Aggie baseball fans were just so excited to hear that you were returning. Walk us through that entire experience, and when you decided to announce to come back, what led you to that decision, and tell us about all of those emotions.
I'll say it was definitely a long week and a half, 2 weeks from draft day to announcing I was coming back. It was definitely a long time period, or it felt like it. But through the draft, there was a bunch of draft stuff that just had to get talked out, and it just took a while. There was some business side and just some of the behind the scenes stuff that was just taking a second, but eventually just didn't work out. And some of the opportunities that A&M offers are incredible. So the ability to finish my degree was a big piece of it. The ability to be with a group of guys that we came so close to doing something really special for this place that hasn't been done before, and with an opportunity of having a really good team back and a great group of people having that chance to go win a national championship. And that's huge because at every level that you play at, the goal is to win a championship. And I think that we have a shot to do that. And then the third piece of it was just growing and growing as an athlete to put myself in a better position to not only be a professional, because that opportunity was there, but to be a major leaguer and to compete at the highest level, which is really important to me. And those three components put together made it really easy to bet on myself. And when that day came to announce I was coming back, it just gave me a sense of comfort. I think it was a really stressful 2 weeks, and to be able to see the support when I decided to come back to Aggie land, it was comforting knowing that it's home and a place that I was really comfortable being for another year, and just super excited to be here and can't wait to see what 2025 brings.
Yeah, it's going to be a great season. I mean, were your teammates, were they all excited too? Did they like...
Some of them were mad at me because I didn't tell them before.
Oh,
I couldn't.
they found out.
I couldn't tell some of them before because I was like, I can't, like, I don't know what's happening yet, this and that. And I get a text from a few of them like right after I posted, and they were like, "What the heck? Like why didn't you tell me this yesterday when we were talking?" I was like, "Don't shoot me. I couldn't."
My hands are tied. I couldn't. Yeah, no, that's funny. All right, Ryan, we've talked today about the level of support that the 12-man provides for the Aggie baseball program. How would you describe the level of, support, facilities, and resources that you have access to at Texas A&M? And if you could sum up your feelings towards the 12th man, the season ticket holders, the donors who support in that way, what would it be and why? Because many of them are listening to this episode today.
Yeah, it's gratefulness. Like, all of our players wouldn't be able to be here, wouldn't be able to have the resources they have or the development they have to be able to live out their dreams without the supporters and without 12-man foundation members and all of that. Like, what we are able to do just wouldn't be possible. And we get to do something we love at a high level, and it's a dream for us. And our dream gets to become reality because of the people that support us. It's something we're just extremely grateful for.
And on the topic still of 12th Man Foundation, you're also, I believe you're a 1922 Fund scholarship recipient. When you received that opportunity, how did it feel to know that the academic side would be provided for your degree while you're getting to play the sport that you love here at Texas A&M?
Yeah, it was awesome. Like you said, I was getting an opportunity to get a degree while also playing a sport I love. And to have that be provided and not me having to kind of provide it for myself, it was a heck of an opportunity and something that I'll always be able to look back and say thank you for. Like, I don't think I'll be able to say thank you enough for it, because not only is that helping me get my degree, but like I've said a few times, it helped me be at Texas A&M and introduced me to this place and allowed me to be an Aggie and forever be an Aggie.
Beyond your time at Texas A&M, what are your future goals and what legacy do you hope to leave when you walk the stage one day?
I think legacy is a huge thing, but specifically at A&M, because of the presence of former students that continue to come back and give back, and people that just always want to be around here. And that's what I want to do. I mean, I think I've been shown the way by plenty of former students and a lot of former student athletes that continue to come back and want to support and do a ton. So that's what I want the legacy to be. And I don't necessarily want it to be my name. I want it to be what I do following my time here or following a career.
Ryan Prager on Answering the Call podcast. Ryan, thanks so much again for coming on the show.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. A special shout out to our incredible podcast producer, Megan Hoffman, and to 12th Man Productions for their generous use of the studio. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to every donor and every season ticket holder for always answering the call through loyal support of Texas A&M athletics and our student athletes. We will be back soon with more content. Thanks and gig 'em.